Ever wonder how one man could stand up to the entire mafia and win? This isn't a movie script. It's the real story of Ellsworth Bumpy Johnson, the undisputed king of Harlem's underworld. And it all came to a head over a simple, illegal lottery known as the numbers game. In the early 20th century, long before state lotteries, the numbers game was the people's lottery. For just a few cents, you could pick a 3-digit number and have a shot at a 600-to-1 payout. It was a game of hope run by the community for the community. In Harlem, the numbers game wasn't just gambling. It was a massive homegrown industry. It employed thousands of people as runners, collectors, and bookies, and its profits often flowed back into the neighborhood, funding businesses and helping families. This was Bumpy Johnson's world. He wasn't just a gangster. He was a Harlem institution. Smart, ruthless, and fiercely protective of his territory. Bumpy understood that the numbers game was the economic lifeblood of his community. He ran it with an iron fist, but also with a sense of responsibility. He was a folk hero, a man who commanded both fear and respect on the streets of Harlem. But then the Great Depression hit, and suddenly everyone was desperate for cash, including the most powerful criminal organization in America, the Mafia, led by the ambitious and brutal Dutch Schultz. The mob saw the millions of dollars flowing through Harlem's numbers game and wanted a piece of it. Or rather, they wanted all of it. Schultz, known for his violent temper and utter disregard for rules, launched a full-scale invasion of Harlem. His method was simple and savage: intimidation and murder. He started picking off independent numbers bankers one by one, forcing them to either join him or face the consequences. The war with Dutch Schultz was costing both sides a fortune in bullets and bodies. The violence was becoming bad for business. Recognizing this stalemate, the head of the Mafia Commission, the legendary Charles "Lucky" Luciano, decided to intervene. Luciano was a pragmatist. He saw that trying to completely conquer Harlem was more trouble than it was worth. A never-ending war wasn't profitable. So Luciano called for a sit-down. A meeting between the Italian Mafia and Harlem's top gangster. This was unheard of. The mob didn't typically negotiate with outsiders, especially not on equal terms. But Bumpy had earned their respect, or at least their attention, through sheer force of will. The meeting was set. On one side, the most powerful mob bosses in the country. On the other, Bumpy Johnson representing Harlem. The Mafia's offer seemed straightforward. They wanted to tax the numbers game. They would provide protection and take a percentage of all the profits. In their minds, it was a generous offer. They were allowing Bumpy and the other Harlem operators to continue their business as long as the commission got its cut. Everyone in that room expected Bumpy to negotiate the percentage, to haggle over the terms. He was cornered, facing the combined might of the Mafia. Taking the deal seemed like the only logical choice. But Bumpy Johnson didn't become a legend by being logical. He listened to their proposal, and then he made a counteroffer that left the entire Mafia Commission stunned into silence. He told them no, he wouldn't pay them a single dime. But he knew he couldn't just refuse. He had to offer them something. So, Bumpy proposed a deal of his own, one that completely flipped the power dynamic. He told Luciano that any high-rolling bettors, the big fish whose winnings could bankrupt a local operator, would have their bets laid off with the Mafia's bookies. Let's break down the genius of this move. In the numbers game, a big win could be financially devastating for a single numbers bank. If a player hit a big jackpot, the bank might not have enough cash on hand to pay them, causing the whole operation to collapse. Bumpy's offer was this: when a huge bet came in, a bet that could sink one of his operations, he would pass that bet and the risk over to the Mafia's larger, more financially secure network. If the bet lost, the mob kept the money. If the bet won, the mob, with its deep pockets, would have to pay the massive prize. Essentially, Bumpy was offering the Mafia all of the risk in exchange for a cut of the profits from those risky bets. He wasn't paying them for protection. He was brilliantly positioning them to protect his business from financial ruin. It was a way for the mob to make money from Harlem, but on Bumpy's terms. The Mafia bosses were humiliated. Instead, they were being treated as business partners and in a way as employees. Bumpy's proposal was so audacious, so clever, that they had no choice but to respect it. It showed he understood business and risk better than they did. More importantly, it showed he would not be intimidated. Lucky Luciano, a visionary in his own right, saw the brilliance in the plan. He understood that Bumpy's proposal would still generate income for the commission, but without the headache and expense of a continued war. It was a profitable piece. The deal was accepted. With that one counteroffer, Bumpy Johnson secured Harlem's economic independence. He had faced down the most powerful criminal syndicate in the country and walked away not just alive, but as an equal. He solidified his status as the undisputed godfather of Harlem, a protector of his community who used his brains, not just his brawn, to outmaneuver the most dangerous men in America. Make sure to hit that like button and subscribe for more stories you won't find in the history books. See you next time.